Namaskar friends, I'll welcome you all back to video 5 of week 12. In this week, we'll discuss about surveillance, ethics and linguistic monitoring. We'll see balancing the national security with the civil liberties. Because surveillance is a tool of protection, not a threat to the freedom. Today, we'll step into one of the most sensitive dimensions of forensic linguistics, that is surveillance ethics. Linguistic monitoring can protect nations, rescue victims, prevent crimes, and support intelligence operations. But it also raises questions about privacy, consent, and the limits of the state power. Surveillance is not just a technical act, it is a social responsibility, and in democracy, every responsibility must be exercised with restraint. Friends, crime today is digital, fast, and borderless. Phishing attacks, hate speech, radicalization, cyberbullying, extortion chats, and coordinated misinformation, these crimes move through language. Monitoring communication patterns helps law enforcement detect early warnings. Surveillance becomes an intelligence tool, mapping patterns rather than reading minds. Understanding this purpose is essential before we discuss its ethical boundaries. Let's discuss about types of linguistic surveillance. From targeted listening to pattern detection. Friends, linguistic surveillance operates at multiple levels. For example, targeted surveillance of specific suspects, keyword-based detection systems of public platforms, sentiment analysis tools for threat escalation, patterns mapping of misinformation networks, and monitoring cross-border propaganda narratives. Each type has different ethical demands. The closer surveillance gets to personal expression, the stronger the justification required. In India, the right to privacy falls under Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. Surveillance must therefore be lawful, necessary, proportionate, and authorized. Linguistic monitoring cannot become mass intrusion. Ethical frameworks ensure that individuals are not watched without reason and that civil liberties remain intact even while national security is protected. In private communication, WhatsApp chats, emails, voice notes, consent becomes central. Ethical surveillance requires legal approval, such as warrants, and must target only communication relevant to the investigation. The personal lives of people unrelated to a crime should never be exposed or documented. Ethical linguistics protects the people whose words we analyze. There was a case where unauthorized surveillance targeted journalists and activists. Through a forensic linguistic case, it shook public trust nationwide. The incident demonstrated that surveillance without oversight damages democratic values. Ethical linguists learn from such events, reminding institutions that transparency and accountability are not obstacles but safeguards for credibility. We'll discuss about many such hypothetical cases in the coming time. We can talk about the ethical use of keyword monitoring systems. Friends, digital platforms and security agencies often track keywords associated with threats. But keyword detection can misinterpret harmless language or cultural expressions. Ethical experts ensure that context is considered number one. Number two, the results are verified by humans. And number three, the no action is taken based solely on automated triggers. Linguistic meaning emerges from context, tone, intention, and machines cannot interpret this alone. Friends, surveillance systems may unintentionally over-monitor. For example, minority dialects, marginalized communities, politically expressive groups, or emotionally intense registers. Bias sometimes comes from tools and sometimes from human assumptions. Ethical frameworks must identify such biases and correct them before surveillance causes harm or discrimination. Friends, every voice deserves the equal respect. Let's talk about data retention. Friends, the surveillance ends, but the data must not linger forever. Data collected for surveillance must be stored indefinitely. Ethical guidelines require clear timelines for retention and destruction. Once evidence is irrelevant, it should be deleted. Storing personal communication forever increases risks of misuse and privacy violation. And that's why ethics demands discipline. Friends, democracies rely on oversight systems to ensure that surveillance remains lawful. Accountability mechanisms may include judicial approvals, independent experts reviewing protocols, internal audits within agencies, ethical committees for oversight. Such checks prevent the concentration of unchecked surveillance powers. Ethical linguistics thrives when institutions answer to the public what they serve. Yes, we talk about the institutional accountability that checks the balance and prevent the misuse. Friends, we need to focus on the delicate balance of transparency without compromising security. Institutions cannot reveal everything about surveillance tools. They would compromise security then. But they must reveal enough to maintain public trust. Publishing guidelines, reporting aggregate data, and sharing ethical commitments, reassuring citizens that monitoring is purposeful, proportionate, and lawful. Friends, believe me, this balance creates legitimacy. We have to be very clear here that the role of forensic linguist is not to be an observer, but to be a guardian. Forensic linguists analyzing surveillance data must act with heightened responsibility. We are not passive analysts. We are guardians of language, privacy, and justice. Our role includes questioning disappropriate net surveillance, advising an ethical data interpretation, and preventing misapplication of linguistic findings. To conclude this week's video, I must say one sentence that justifies the entire video, that surveillance must serve the people, not silence them. I am very much grateful to you people for walking through this session. Friends, surveillance is powerful, but power must be principled. Linguistic monitoring must protect freedom, not compromise it. Ethical vigilance ensures that national security does not overshadow human dignity. In the next video, we'll explore the global accountability models, how countries regulate forensic linguistic practices through laws, guidelines, and institutional frameworks. Until I catch you in the next video, till then, stay tuned with the course. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.